1 number. Hand needle, 1 number. Ball pin, 1 box. Long cloth or poplin, 1 meter. Sewing thread, 1 number. Make a sample of puff sleeve. Puff sleeves are of short length. Medium and lightweight fabrics are best suited for this style. In the first type, the gathers are formed both top and bottom. In second type, the gathers are only at the bottom. In third style, the gathers are at the top end. Draft the puff sleeve and cut in the fabric. Puff sleeve. Point 0 to point 1 is equal to the sleeve length plus 67 cm for the puff. Point 1 to point 2 is equal to percentage of chest plus 3% centimeter. Point 2 to point 3 is equal to half of point 1 to point 2 less than percentage centimeter. Join point 3 and point 0 with a straight line. Point 4 to point 2 is 272 centimeters. Point 5 to point 3 is equal to 1/3 of point 4 to point 0. Make 2 rows of ease stitches at upper sleeve shape. First at a distance of 0.5 cm, second at a distance. Stitch sleeve side seam pin the center of sleeve crown on shoulder with right sides together and leaving seam allowance. Gather on sleeve crown 3 cm on both sides of shoulder seam while pulling the long thread ends from both sides. Pull until the girth of sleeve is equal with the girth of armhole. Bast sleeves to bodice armhole, then stitch with machine. Make a sample of leg O mutton sleeve. Leg O mutton sleeve is a long sleeve which has a tight fitting below the elbow and puffed above with gathers at the top edge. Draft the leg O mutton sleeve and cut in the fabric. Measurements. Sleeve length is equal to 12.5 cm. Sleeve pound is equal to 18 cm. Material poplin cloth 17 cm. Point 0 to point 1 is equal to 1/8 chest plus 6.5 cm plus 1.5 cm for looseness. Point 0 to point 2 is equal to 6.5 cm to 10 cm according to gathers at the top. Point 3 to point 1 is equal to same point 2 to point 0. Point 4 to point 2 is equal to sleeve length plus 1.5 cm. Point 5 to point 3 is equal to same as point 4 to point 2. Join point 4 to point 5. Point 6 to point 3 is equal to 1/8 of chest. Point 7 to point 0 is equal to 4 centimeters. Shape point 6 to point 9 to point 7 to point 0 and point 6 to point 10 to point 11 to point 0. Point 12 to point 5 is equal to 2.5 centimeter. Join point 6 to point 12. Point 13 to point 4 is equal to 2.5 centimeter. Join and shape point 12 to point 13. Point 14 to point 13 is percent sleeve round plus 1.5 centimeter. Suppress the distance from point 10 to point 12 in a dart at point 13. Keep 2 centimeter inlays at point 12 to point 6. Stitch the side seam and shoulder seam of the bodies. Set the sewing machine for long stitches by adjusting the stitch regulator. Work a row of large machine stitches at the top of the sleeve edges. Prepare pull the formed stitches at both ends to form gathers. Sleeve bottom to point 3 or point 5 darks are stitched. Prepare a bias strip to the required length of the sleeve round and the width of 2 centimeters. Keep the right side of the bias piece to the right side of the lower edge of the sleeve and give machine stitch. Make 5 centimeter fold on the other side of the bias band and bring the folded edge over to the wrong side of the sleeve, just covering the row of large running stitch. Hem the folded edge of the sleeve on the wrong side. Measure the armhole and sleeve round. Stitch the side seam of the sleeve. Recap.
In this session, we have learned how to make a sample of puff sleeve, how to make a sample of leg O mutton sleeve. Hope you have understood all the concepts in this session. See you in the next session with a new concept. Thank you. A warm welcome to the session on practice of making buttonholes by hand. At the end of the session, you will be able to prepare 1 bar 1 fan buttonhole by hand, prepare a corded keyhole button by hand, prepare a bound buttonhole by hand, cut and stitch shirt or pant buttonholes by zigzag machine.
Tools and equipments required. Zigzag machine, 1 number. Hand needle, 1 number. Chalk or pencil, 1 number. Scissors, 1 number. Measuring tape, 1 number. Thread as required. Fabric as required. Buttonhole scissor, buttonholes. Buttonholes are created as one of the last steps in stitching garments. In ladies' garments, the buttonholes are worked on the right side. In men's garments, they are worked on the left-hand side. In fitted garments, the buttonholes are horizontal, and in loose garments, buttonholes are vertical. A buttonhole is constructed with 2 long sides and 2 ends. Buttons can be stitched with machine as well as by hand. Hand-worked buttonholes are stronger than the machine-worked buttonholes but take more time. Prepare 1 bar 1 fan buttonhole by hand. Take 2 pieces of 15 cm by 15 cm. Cover one by the other congruently in wrap direction with wrong sides together and stitch around with machine, leaving 1 cm seam allowances from all edges. For marking position of buttonhole, draw a line of 15 mm with chalk at the center of the stitched piece in wrap direction. This line is called slash line. Place a row of machine stitches around the slash line, 2 mm away from the slash line. Set the buttonhole scissor according to the buttonhole. Then cut the slash line with buttonhole scissors using 1 thread of fabric as a guide. Note, scissors must be sharp and pointed. Overcast the raw edges of the slit by hand with single thread, keeping 3 stitches per centimeter and length of 2 mm. Hold the fabric by left hand and start filling the overcasted edge from one end by buttonhole stitches covering the machine stitched line. Take the stitches close side by side at a regular distance, maintaining even tension in each stitch. Take suitable thick thread or twisted double thread. Note, machine stitches must be approximately 6 stitches per 1 centimeter. At the outer end, spread 5 to 7 stitches in fan shape. Fill the remaining cut by buttonhole stitches. On the end, make 2 stitches taking full width of both worked out edges for bar tacking. Fill bar tack stitches by buttonhole stitches. Note, while filling bar tacks with buttonhole stitches, the needle should catch one thread of the previous. Use a length of cord to fit loosely around the buttonhole. Knot it at the ends and secure with pin. Overcast over the cord. Keep the cord within 2 mm from the slashed edge. Turn the fabric so that you start to work out the buttonhole from right lower side. Work out the buttonhole in the similar process of 1 fan, 1 bar buttonholes covering the cord and maintain the straight edge of cut and the round of hole. Make bar tack in the end. Note, hold both sides of the cord, remove the pin, pull slightly and cut off the excess cord before filling the bar tacks. Repeat the process for practice and perfection. Prepare a bound buttonhole by hand. Cut 2 pieces of cloth 15 cm by 15 cm. Stitch together on the all 4 edges as done for other buttonholes. Cut 1 lip piece of same cloth 6 cm long and 5 cm wide. Mark buttonhole position on the center of the big piece 3 cm long along the grain line on the wrong side of the cloth. Make the running stitch on the mark. Extend the stitches by 2 cm on each side of the mark, which will appear on the right side of the cloth. With the right sides together, place the center of the lip piece on the buttonhole mark, keeping 6 cm long side of lip piece along the buttonhole length mark. Maintain the middle position. Pin 4 corners of the lip piece with original piece. Take care that the lip piece remains extended by 1.5 cm on both ends of the mark. Paste all round 0.5 cm away from the edge. On the wrong side, mark 2 lines with pencil 3 mm away on either sides of the buttonhole mark. Start stitching on the marks from the middle of one side and make a rectangle. Overlap few stitches over the starting point. Slash layers on the buttonhole mark with a sharp pointed scissors, leaving 0.75 cm from each end. Clip diagonally all 4 corners. Turn the lip piece on the wrong side through the hole. To square the corners, pull the ends of the lip piece tightly so that the corners come out clean. Push forward the lip cloth towards center line by 3 mm, forming lip and best on it slightly away from the ditch of seam on the right side. Cut and stitch shirt or pant buttonholes by zigzag machine. Take 1 piece of cloth 15 cm by 15 cm on double as taken in 1 fan 1 bar buttonhole. Determine the size of buttonhole length 14 mm and the effective length of buttonhole, that is 10 mm, and mark on the cloth on wrap direction. Setting the machine. Set zigzag holing foot in the place of presser foot. Set needle position with selector. Set stitch width selector at 1.5 millimeters width. Place marked piece under needle, aligning center marking of buttonhole with slot in the presser foot. Position the needle in the fabric at point A. Lower the foot and stitch to the end of marking up to point B. Drop the needle in the fabric at point B. Make a stitch of 2 millimeters from point B to point C. Adjust the stitch regulator for reverse stitch. Stitch the other side of the buttonhole back to starting point. Adjust the stitch width selector for bar tack at 3.5 millimeter. Make 6 stitches. At the end, make a double stitch for strengthening, or leave 2 cm long thread and make a knot at underside. Take out the fabric and finish the bar tack in the same way as at the other end. Remove the cloth from the machine and trim the loose thread. Slash in the center with seam ripper or pointed sharp scissors. Repeat the process in the same way. Recap.
In this session, we have learnt how to prepare 1 bar 1 fan button hole by hand, how to prepare a corded keyhole button hole by hand, how to prepare bound button hole by hand, how to cut and stitch shirt or pant button holes by zigzag machine. Hope you have understood all the concepts in this session. See you in the next session with a new concept. Thank you. A warm welcome to the session on practice of taking body measurements. At the end of the session, you will be able to take measurements of individual figure, compare the standard measurement with individual measure, take measurements in different ways from a garment.
Tools and equipments required. Measuring tape 150 cm. Dress form 1 number. Pencil or pen 2H 1 number. Record notebook 1 number. Take measurement of individual figure. Bust round. Measure the figure at the fullest point of the bust. Do not allow the tape to fall at the back. Waist. Take this measurement round the waist. Make sure it is comfortable. Hip. Measure the widest part of the hips, approximately 21 cm from the waistline. Back width. Measure the back width 15 cm down from the neck bone at the center back. Measure from armhole to armhole. Chest. Measure the chest 7 cm down from the neck point at the center front. Armhole to armhole. Shoulder. Measure from nape of the neck to the shoulder bone. Neck size. Measure the base of neck touching front collar bone. Dart. Take standard measurements from the size chart. Top arm. Measure the biceps. Make sure that the arm must be bent. Wrist. Take the wrist measurement around the wrist with slight ease. Ankle. Measure around the ankle, just over the ankle bone. High ankle. Measure along the leg, just above the ankle. Nape to waist. Measure from the neck bone at the center back string tied around the waist. Front shoulder to waist. Measure from center of the front shoulder and tape along the bust point to waist. Armhole depth. Take standard measurement and verify measurement with that. Skirt length. Measure the skirt length from waist and do the required hem length. Note. Measure from the waist to the floor at the back and front to check that the balance of the figure is even. Waist to hip. Measure from waist to the level of the below the hip. Waist to floor. Measure from waist to floor starting from center body. Body raise. The subject should sit on hard chair. Take the measurements at the sides from waist to the chest. Sleeve length. Place the hand on the hip so that the arm is bent. Measure from shoulder bone and bring the tape along the elbow to wrist bone above the little finger. Note: the list of individual measurements should be carefully checked against the list standard measurements and any great deviation accounted for. The blocks can be then drafted using students' individual measurements. Standard body measurements. The largest percentage of population falls into the medium-high range. Though the birth of women varies, the general trend is for weight to increase with height. This feature is reflected in the size charts. The size chart of women of medium height 160 cm to 170 cm is given below. Compare the standard measurement with individual measure. The knowledge of the anatomy of the body is essential for the construction of the garment. The 8-head theory is a helpful system which describes some ideal proportions of human figure. According to this theory, the body is divided into 8 equal parts. The size of the head height is the measure of all the other units. Unit 1. Hair to chin. Unit 2. Chin to nipple. Unit 3. Nipple to navel. Unit 4. Navel to public organ. Unit 5. Public organ to mid-thigh. Unit 6. Mid-thigh to below the knee. Unit 7. Below the knee to above the ankle. Unit 8. Above the ankle to toe. Alteration of garment as per requirement of the customer. Problem: folds below the bust dart. Solution: undo the dart and part of the side seam. Lift the shoulder a little. Repin a bigger dart and pin the side seam to take out the excess fabric. Problem: low waist. Solution: tie a band around the waist and remark the waistline. Remove and repin the skirt to new waistline. Problem: baggy below the hip. Solution: raise the skirt at back only and repin. Problem: gapping armhole. Solution: undo dart and pin a bigger dart, making sure that it points towards the bust point. One may need to lift shoulder seam at the armhole. Problem: low neckline gaps. Solution: lift at the front shoulder seam. Lower the dart point if necessary. Problem: folds in the dress below the waist. Solution: undo the side seam from below the armhole and ease out until the garment hangs smoothly. Problem: tight neck or armhole. Solution: slash and snip seam allowance to release tension. If it is not enough, mark a new seam line that is lower than before. Problem: neckline stands away and folds below. Solution: release shoulder seam and let it out at the armhole edge. Problem: shoulder seam lies towards the front of the shoulder. Solution: undo shoulder seam and release front seam allowances only. Problem: folds across sleeve at the top. Solution: mark a new fitting line below the existing one to reduce cap height. Problem: sleeve hangs towards the back. Solution: Remove the sleeve and repin by moving the notch at the center of the sleeve towards the back so that the sleeve may hang towards the front. Problem: trousers are loose at waist, hip or leg. Creases on the leg and trousers stands away at waist. Solution: take excess fabric at side and pin at original seam lower down. For larger hip, increase the dart intake. Pin the excess towards the outer seam. Problem: trousers tight below the waist. Crease around abdomen. Solution: release darts and reduce their width and length. Also release some ease on the outer seams and repin. A tailor must check the following details when he checks the fittings of the garment. Shoulders. Seam should lie on the edge of the shoulder. The shoulder should be wide enough to ensure that sleeves hang comfortably into position. The shoulder slope of the garment should go in sync with the shoulder slope of the wearer. Chest or bust. The tip of the dart should end above an inch before the fullest part, often ankle the curve of the bust line. Incorrect positioning of the dart will make the garment too fitted around the bust area. Neckline. The front of the normal neckline should be always larger than the neckline at the back. Neckline should not be too large or too small. Collar. The circumference of the collar should be at least 1/4 of an inch bigger than the neckline. You should be able to slip a finger in between your neck and the shirt at any point without struggling or forcing. The collar should neither be too tight nor too loose. Sleeves. The crosswise grain at the bicep should lie parallel to the floor. The sleeve should not be too fitted or too loose, as both can cause discomfort. The narrowest part of the garment should fall at the wearer's waist. Hips. Garment should have enough room around the hip area. Garment should not have excess ease in the hip or thigh, as it will result in vertical folds. Recap.
In this session, we have learnt how to take measurement of individual figure, how to compare the standard measurements with individual measure, how to take measurements in different ways from a garment. Hope you have understood all the concept in this session. See you in the next session with a new concept. Thank you. A warm welcome to this session on making samples of casing. At the end of the session, you will be able to prepare fold down casing, prepare applied casing.
Tools and equipments required. Lock stitch sewing machine, 1 number. Iron box, 1 number. Hand needle, 1 number. Scissors, 1 number. Dressmaker spin, 1 box. Long cloth or poplin, 1 meter. Sewing thread, 1 number. Casing. A casing is a fabric tunnel through which elastic or drawstring can be threaded to pull in or draw up the fabric. Casing can be used at sleeves and pants hems as well as for garment waistbands. The most common use of casings is for waistbands on pull-on pants and skirts, pajamas. It is best suited for straight edges. Waistline casings are practical because they can be adjusted easily to change in waist measurement. Merely tighten or loosen the drawstring elastic. A casing should be 6 cm wider than the elastic or drawstring, so the elastic or drawstring can move easily through the tunnel, but not so loose that it twists easily. There are two types of casing: fold down casing, applied casing. Fold down casing. Fold down casing is the most common technique usually found everywhere and usually used by the beginners for quick stitching. A fold down casing is formed by turning an extension at the garment edge to the inside and stitching it in place. Fold down casing can be classified into two types: casing with drawstring, casing with elastics. Prepare fold down casing. The steps to prepare fold down casing: mark the fitting line, fold 1 cm to the wrong side. Fold along the fitting line to make the tunnel. Pin and tuck the casing. Then press. Machine stitch along the upper and lower edges of casing. Leave an opening of approximately 4 cm on the lower edge. Backstitch at both the open ends of lower edge. Applied casing. An applied casing consists of a separate strip of fabric that is stitched to the area to be drawn upon either the outside or the inside of the garment. If the casing is inside but the drawstring is required outside, provision is to be made to lead the drawstring outside. This can be done with buttonhole or with opening with the seam. An applied casing may be sewn on one-piece garment that has no waistline seam. The applied casing also acts as facing for a top edge of pants and skirts and the lower edge of blouses and jackets. Applied casing from outside may be of same color or contrast color. Applied casing can be classified into two types: inside applied casing, outside applied casing. Both the inside and outside applied casing can be used in the waistline of jackets, dresses, pants, etc. Prepare applied casing. The steps to prepare applied casing: place and pin the casing on waistline, right side of the casing and wrong side of petticoat together. Start to pin from placket. Take care that balance marks on casing match the side seam lines and the center of petticoat. Bast and stitch at a distance of 0.75 cm from raw edge. Turn the petticoat to right side and fold the casing up, that is, turn by 180 degrees. Press the seam allowance flat to casing piece. Finish the raw edges of casing on sides. Turn the edge first by 0.5 cm and then by 1 cm. Hem covering the seam allowance. Fold down casing on the center line and pin the casing on the right side covering the previous seam line. Match the balance marks with the side seam lines of the petticoat. Bast and top stitch through all layers. Top stitch a parallel stitch line at a distance of 0.5 cm. Keep the material under needle and pressure foot. Lift the pressure foot and pivot material by 90 degrees. Stitch 0.5 cm up. Pivot material again, etc. Casing with drawstring. Casing with drawstring is one of the types of fold-down casing. Using a drawstring instead of an elastic in the casing is called as casing with drawstring. A drawstring is a cord, ribbon, or strap of fabric used to draw fabric through a casing, allowing you to tighten your garment. Any piece of cord, trimming, ribbon or fabric could become a drawstring. Ribbons add a more feminine touch, while cords are great for projects requiring sturdy fastenings like bags. One can also experiment with different colors and add personal touch by using contrasting materials. This type of casing is generally used in petticoats, pull-on pajamas, yoga pants, etc. One thing about a drawstring is that there has to be an opening for the string tails to get outside the casing. There are several ways to do this. One is to leave the center front or side seams open. Another way is to sew two buttonholes, one for each tail end on either side of the center front. Recap.
In this session, we have learnt how to prepare fold-down casing, how to prepare applied casing. Hope you have understood all the concepts in this session. See you in the next session with a new concept. Thank you. A warm welcome to this session on making samples of casing. At the end of the session, you will be able to prepare casing with drawstring, prepare casing with elastic, prepare casing and heading.
Tools and equipments required. Lock stitch sewing machine, 1 number. Iron box, 1 number. Hand needle, 1 number. Scissors, 1 number. Dressmaker's pin, 1 box. Long cloth or poplin, 1 meter. Sewing thread, 1 number. Prepare casing with drawstring. The steps to prepare casing with drawstring is given below. Mark the fitting line. Mark and cut 2 holes for the drawstring. Finish the holes with blanket or buttonhole stitch. Fold 1 cm to the wrong side, that is, first turning. Fold along the fitting line to make second turning. Pin, tack and press. Machine stitch along the upper and lower edges of the casing. Remove tacking. Insert the drawstring from one hole. Push it through casing and draw it out from the other hole. Casing with elastic. Casing with elastic is one of the types of Fold down casing. A casing is a hollow channel that holds elastic. This type of casing is generally used in baby garments, pants, etc. Casing with elastic is a synonym for comfort for many people. Casing with elastic allows for small variations in fit and work great for most body types. There are few tricks in making the casing with elastic waistband look neat and professional. They are given below. Whatever width of elastic we choose to work with, the casing we will create should be at least 1/4 inches, that is 6 mm wider. Stretch out elastic a few times before making the final cut. This will prevent the elastic from becoming loose over time. Use a large safety pin to pull the elastic through the casing. It's sturdier and won't open inside the casing, messing up the whole process. Secure the elastic by stitching through all layers in the side seams. This will prevent it from twisting in future. Prepare casing with elastic. The steps to prepare casing with elastic is given below. Mark the fitting line. Fold 1 cm to the wrong side. Fold along the fitting line to make the tunnel. Pin and tuck the casing, then press. Machine stitch along the upper and lower edges of the casing. Leave an opening of approximately 4 cm on the lower edge and remove the tacking. Attach a safety pin to one end of the elastic. Pin the other end of the elastic to the garment. Push the safety pin with the elastic through casing. Remove safety pin. Secure the ends of elastic by placing ends one over other and make a square stitching. Machine stitch along the lower edge of the opening to close the casing. Spread the gathers evenly in the casing. Casing with heading. A casing with a heading is a channel that you can run a cord of elastic through with a built-in ruffle at the end. They are super handy and you can add one to any pattern with a little bit of pattern manipulation. Casing with heading can be formed on either type of casing having free edge. This is done after making a tunnel. Stitch a second row of after the desired depth of the casing. When casing is drawn up, it will gather the heading automatically. Prepare casing and heading. Determine casing depth by loosely pinning a curtain fabric strip around the rod. Remove rod and measure the distance from the top of the strip to the pin. Add 1/2 inches, that is 1.3 cm to be turned under. Press under 1/2 inches, that is 1.3 cm along upper cut edge of curtain panel. Fold over again and press to form a hem equal to amount measured. Stitch close to folded hem edge to form casing. Back stitching at both ends. If desired, stitch again close to the upper edge to create a sharp crease appropriate for flat or oval curtain rods. How to sew a casing with a heading. Determine the depth of the casing as directed above. Determine the depth of heading opposite. Press under 1/2 inches. That is 1.3 cm along upper cut edge of the curtain panel. Fold and press again to form hem equal to casing plus heading depth. Stitch close to folded edge, back stitching at both ends. Mark heading depth with a pin at each end of panel. Stitch again at marked depth. To aid straight stitching, apply a strip of masking tape to the bed of the machine at heading depth or use seam guide. Insert rod through casing and gather curtain evenly onto rod. Adjust heading by pulling up the folded edge so the seam is exactly on the lower edge of the rod. Outside applied casing. An applied casing is formed by stitching a separate strip of fabric to the area to be drawn up. If sewn outside the garment, the casing may be made of either the garment fabric or a contrasting trim. Inside applied casing. An applied casing is formed by stitching a separate strip of fabric to the area to be drawn up. If sewn inside the garment, the casing is usually made of a lightweight lining fabric or a ready-made bias tape to reduce unnecessary bulk. Safety precautions. While casing, it is necessary to remember the points given below. Lines should be parallel to grain. Elastic may not twist inside the casing. Back or secure stitch should be there to secure the open ends. Always remove the tacking before finishing. Recap.
In this session, we have learnt how to prepare casing with drawstring, how to prepare casing with elastic, how to prepare casing and heading. Hope you have understood all the concept in this session. See you in the next section with a new concept. Thank you. A warm welcome to this session on making samples of neck edge finishing. At the end of this session, you will be able to finish the neckline using binding piping.
Tools and equipments required. Lock stitch sewing machine, 1 number. Iron box, 1 number. Hand needle, 1 number. Scissors, 1 number. Dressmaker's pin, 1 box. Long cloth or poplin, 1 meter. Sewing thread, 1 number. Neckline and its importance. The neckline design is given importance since it will influence the style of the garment and it should suit the person wearing the garment. Necklines must be finished with special accuracy since they attract the attention easily. All neck designs can be regarded as variations of 3 main shapes: round, square and V-shaped. When designing the neckline, the purpose of the dress is important. For casual wear and uniforms, predominant decorative features are avoided. While selecting the shape of the neckline, the individual features of the wearer must be taken into consideration. Given below are a few suitable combinations. For round face, long, pointed collar or V-neck. For broad face, and short neck, long pointed collar or wider neck shapes. For long, slender face, short collar points and broad spacing between the points or close neck. Remember, to avoid bulge on the edge or corner of the neckline, notches should be given on inward curves. To avoid bulge on the neckline edge of right side facing top, stitching must be done on the right side close to the neckline and the shoulder seam allowance should be pressed open. If a narrow facing is used, it is hemmed to bodice fabric. On square and V-shaped necklines, clipping should be done at the corners or at points. This is to avoid bulging and to prepare for a flat set. Finishing the raw edges of the neckline. There are different methods of finishing a raw edge in a garment, as on bottom, armhole, neckline, etc. Besides hemming, that is turning up the raw edge on the wrong side of the garment, there are two more methods of edge finishing, which are facing and enclosing of edges. The material used for facing and enclosing of edges can be cut on the straight grain or on the bias, that is, at a 45 degrees angle, diagonal to the wrap and weft. Piping or cording. Piping is a method for a decorative edge finishing. It is cut from the bias material. Cording, also known as piping, is a trim available in a variety of different colors, fabrics and finishes. While the most readily available piping is made of cotton and comes in a package similar to bias binding, other common styles are made of silk, satin, leather or suede. It may be made from either self fabric, that is, the same fabric as the object to be ornamented, or contrasting fabric or of leather. The pipe is stitched between the two layers of the fabric to form a flat welt on the edge. The pipe can also be filled with a cord to make the welt stronger and more conspicuous. For extra stretch and flexibility, the fabric strip used to construct cording is cut on the bias. Piping or cording. Working method of piping. Measure the shape neckline and cut piping or cording piece of the length 3 cm to 4 cm than the neckline measurement and 3 cm wide. Open the placket or zipper. Pin the cording to the right side of the garment with cord just outside seam line and the cording stitch line just inside seam line. Leave excess cording at ends. At ends, release enough of stitching, adding cord to open fabric, and then cut cord to even with placket edges. Trim fabric ends to 6 mm. Remove tacking. Tack cording to garment. Remove pins. Using a zipper foot adjust to right of needle. Stitch cording to garment. Stitch between cord and stitching casing the cord. Remove tacking. Construct facing with right sides together. Pin and tack to garment. Wrap ends and facing around zipper halves to inside of the garment. With wrong side of garment, upstitch facing to garment along seam line. Press seam flat. Trim the seam allowances diagonally at cross seams and corners. Press seam open and then press facing and seam allowances away from garment. Extending facing and seam allowance away from garment, understitch along neck seam line. Use zipper foot stitch from right side of facing through all seam allowances. Turn facing to inside and press. Tack facing to garment at shoulders. Tack fabric at ends of cording closed slip stitch facing ends to zipper tapes. Attach fasteners. Binding. Binding is used to finish and straighten raw edges or to add a decorative trim to a garment. It is a neat finish also for reversible garments. It is used to finish necklines, armholes, sleeve edges, front closings, collars, cuffs and seams. Ready-made bias binding piece can also be used. Bias binding can be applied in two ways. Single binding is cut to double the finished width plus 2 seam allowances. Bindings are handled in the opposite manner to facings at inward and outward curve. Stretch bias on inward curves and eases it in outward curve. Double binding or French binding is used on sheer fabrics. Here, the width is 4 to 6 times the required width. The binding piece is folded first and applied to the garment. It gives a corded effect with finishing. Recap.
In this session, we have learnt how to finish the neckline using binding piping. Hope you have understood all the concepts in this session. See you in the next session with a new concept. Thank you.
नमस्कार, मैं दिव्यांशी चौहान।
नमस्कार, मैं भगवती जबनाल। आप सभी का सीएससी कड़ी की तीसरी चर्चा में आपका स्वागत करते हैं।
हमने अभी तक बात की सीएससी सेवाओं के बारे में, जिसमें त्यागी सर ने हमें सीएससी